such creative, innovative ideas, so much inspiration for all of us. We're nearing the end of our day, and I'm really excited we're ending on such a high and hopeful note. And I really appreciate all of those who were able to attend that panel, maybe some others today. We are going into our final session for the day. So thanks so much for hanging on here. It's going to be a really, really wonderful closing remarks from Wendy Purcell, going to be moderated by Derek. Both are members of our organizing committee. So it's been really wonderful to work with them and see them here at the actual event today. We made it all the way to the finish line, and now we get to see it lived out and played out with all of you joining us. So it's really wonderful to end on this note. I'm just going to give a brief introduction to Derek, and then we'll go into those closing remarks. So Derek Lough is an SDG Publishers Compact Fellow. He fulfilled a pre-professional graduate assistantship with the Illinois Tutoring Initiative, aiding the facilitation of a grant using federal COVID-19 relief funds in support of Governor J.B. Pritzker's office, the Illinois Board of Higher Education, and the Illinois State Board of Education High Impact Tutoring Initiative. He has previously worked with Northwestern University and Johns Hopkins University at the intersection of civic engagement, education, and youth development. Prior to enrolling at Illinois State University, he volunteered as the policy director for the Young Democrats of Illinois and organized a mutual aid group in McLean County during the first 16 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. He manages fundraising for the SDG Program Fund, serves as a member of the Advancing the Sustainable Development Goals Working Group for the Forum on Education Abroad, the Graduate Student Advisory Council at Illinois State University, and researching climate justice education for his doctoral studies. Thank you so much, Derek, for kicking us off here. I'll hand it over to you now.
Wonderful. I appreciate that warm introduction. What a full day it has been. I can't wait to hear Dr. Wendy Purcell's thoughts on the matter. So let me introduce her. Professor Wendy Purcell earned her PhD from University College London and was elected Fellow of the Royal Society of the Arts, Manufacturers and Commerce. She's a full professor at Rutgers University and academic research scholar with Harvard University. Wendy's purpose lies in transforming lives through education and research in pursuit of social equity, the knowledge economy, and sustainable development. Her work focuses on sustainability and the Sustainable Development Goals as fuel for societal transformation and the adaptive change necessary to achieving a just transition and the creation of a world that leaves no one behind. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek, and thank you to everyone. It's really daunting to be asked to give the closing remarks. It's a real honor. I offer these comments with humility and really to reflect the generosity of all of those who shared as speakers and panelists, and also very active participants. So I think the key thing I wanted to kind of highlight, I think, and bring into the room is just to kind of hold the moment, really, that what we do here matters. You know, these kinds of conversations, these convenings, these gatherings, it really does matter. I think we've seen the amplification of our work in so many different ways across the day, and again, we'll see that tomorrow. So just to kind of ground ourselves when everything gets so chaotic and challenging, and just to kind of remind ourselves that what we do here matters, and hold that as that sense of purpose, really. That purpose, I think, is reflected, as we've heard, from the theme of the conference and why we're gathering today. But I think Anthony put it really beautifully earlier about this being a human rights and reflecting our human rights. And so I've thought through, as I've been listening really intently today, and thinking about how do we kind of gather up some of the ideas in different ways. And clearly I'm not going to replay back. I just couldn't possibly replay back the kind of richness of some of the discussions, but I just kind of organized it into sort of three thoughts, really. The first was to think through our role to self-disrupt, not to be reacting to the kinds of things that are happening to us, but to self-disrupt education. I think we heard it from our colleagues at ASU, you know, the complicity that we hold as educators in where we are now, but how we move forward, how we, you know, maybe stop some of the discussions about sustainability versus SDGs and, you know, the arbitrary divides that we create, you know, so intently, but actually think about that broader sense of purpose, about creating a world that leaves no one behind, that sense of stewardship, of flourishing, of well-being, and really rethinking collectively education for our preferred future. So we've set that future out, or suite of futures out, very carefully. So a couple of things that kind of emerged really strongly, just to play back, and we kind of know this, is silo breaking programs, ways of working, taking on that kind of systems focus. And really, we heard in one of the sessions I was doing earlier, which is a focus on solutions, is maybe not embellishing the narrative of what's wrong. We know what's wrong. We've got a pretty good handle on some of the challenges, but really focusing and leaning in to that sense of solution-oriented thinking. So Sarah offered that to us earlier. So that's kind of one space, is embracing really wholeheartedly the self-disruption of education. And I think that we're all hearing about that in many different ways. The second kind of space that I was hearing that came together was around how we connect self to society. And one of the things that emerged, not least if you joined us for that beautiful kind of mindfulness session, is how we not only think about sustainability in that sense of ES and G, environment, sort of society and governance, but actually sustaining our inner environment to really renew our sense of wonder and nourish our inner environment. And we did that through the kind of mindfulness practice here, but also as a way of building well-being and driving up our own resilience and that of our students. And I think the other thing that emerged from that and from other discussions is how we hold space, how we can connect and use our convening power as education institutions to be in community, to really connect with people from very many different stakeholders and convene people and harness the power of that dialogue to plan and act together. That was a kind of second kind of space. And then the final kind of theme really to play back for some of our final discussions is this sense of radical collaboration, you know, really co-creating with our students, with our community, a new way of acting. You know, we heard about the power, you know, authentic power of the student voice, and actually connecting that with the intergenerational work. I mean, looking at 5 generations in the workforce, 6 generations out there. So it's a really important work to be done there. But that collaboration is also bringing us into, I think, a deeper understanding around empathy, a more kind of entrepreneurial mindset, and the way that we can maybe think about a sustainability mindset. But everyone was echoing back in different ways how these are locally rooted, but globally connected challenges that we're working on. So that sense of harnessing this shared purpose. I mean, if you had a moment to engage with that kind of Parasites of the Planet video, it was inspiring, it was challenging, it was a call to action. And so whether it was baby steps or giant strides that people were making, I think we were looking genuinely at a kind of transformative education space and actually transformative values around our education space. So I think in that, trying to sort of play back some of those are the kind of three themes, headlines of today for me. But I think acknowledging the adaptive challenge that we're in, and actually recognizing fear, some of the losses that come with that. But recognizing, I think that, convenings like that, this through the SDSN, they are hopeful spaces. They've given us all time to contemplate, the level of the challenge. And maybe just, if I could put it simply, remind ourselves that we're not just human sort of doings, we're very much human beings, and this is a human being, people, planet, shared prosperity space. And so I wanted to take this opportunity also just to play in some of the recent work we've been doing, a new book that we just published, which has the tagline of, an agenda for transformational change, which I think fits in really well with the themes of today's kind of conference and our gathering tomorrow, and to share with you a kind of manifesto for change that we distilled out from those examples, and just kind of round off then and hand back to Derek. So this book, our book on the Bloomsbury Handbook of Sustainability in Higher Education, was published earlier this month, and it's really sits, I think, really comfortably with the sense of what we're doing here. So it's obviously, this focuses on universities and colleges of higher education, but I think it goes across the educational sphere. Is recognition that education 4.7, as we know, is essential for catalyzing the action that we want to see, this transformative change, this just transition, this sense of this adaptive challenge that we're all involved with. And from a suite of examples and case studies and shared again, as we've heard today so generously, we distilled out a number of actions that I thought might be worth sharing with you, and food for thought as we can take that into tomorrow. I think we've heard so powerfully today just how important the context of where we're operating, the place in which we're operating, recognizing the heritage of our educational institutions, the culture, that those place-based assets. So that context of where we're engaging, and that there is often lack of translation from one geography to another, and that's okay, that's fine. We should stop trying to fit solutions from one place to another. That context is really important. The mission of the different institutions really comes through. This isn't something we do alongside the day job. This is the day job. This isn't teaching, learning, research, innovation, civic and community work. This is all of those things, and using the lens of sustainability and the Sustainable Development Goals to look at what we do and to give a new lens to the work that we do. I think we've all seen and experienced how leadership can be enabling and can be inclusive, and how strategy at organizational levels can really help us or indeed get in the way. Everybody has talked, and we've heard from some fantastic students already, but that opportunity to release that energy and agency and their commitment to betterment, just comes through so powerfully. And actually, I think all of us recognize that sense of we need patience, we need resolve, we need to come together and build our resilience as well. But this, we're in this for the long haul, but time's ticking and we've got to get on with things. And I think the second kind of part of that manifesto was the importance of communication and dialogue. Not only because we're wanting to pick up tools and frameworks and hints and tips, but actually because it nourishes us, in terms of our heart, of the kind of mindful activity that we had earlier, and this community that we're building and strengthening, for impact. But also, I think something that comes through very strongly, and I've heard it again today, is how important it is that we not only are inside and engaging, but we're also participating from our academic point of view and being part of the critical, holding to account, showing where there are holes, where there are issues, playing back to policymakers and leaders and others, what not working, where things, holding up I suppose, our critical evaluative skills and that kind of reflection that we do as educators. And then, whether it's, as I say, baby steps or giant strides, small initiatives can really ripple, can be amplified and scaled in so many different ways. And this was a book about higher education, but this is, higher education and what we do here really does matter. And so this handbook really talking about how sustainability changes the institution, how the institution can really engage and help change and be part of the change we want to see out in society, working through others. So I just want to bring that kind of manifesto to you that's been distilled out from the work of a group of 65 different authors across a whole range of different types of institutions, different countries, and the stories and support of millions of students. So thank you for giving me the daunting task to play back to you some of those closing comments, and apologies for all the richness that I wasn't able to capture, but I hope you found that helpful, and we'll leave some time for questions, Derek, and reflection. Thank you.
Wendy, thank you so much for taking us back through the day and some of the central themes that arose from your expert perspective. And with that in mind, I don't see any questions in the chat. I'll go ahead and open up the floor if anyone would like to ask any.
No questions, Eric, but I think we need Wendy's book. I shared it with a couple of colleagues on the phone, and they're like, oh, I need to get this book. So we are looking at sustainability and higher education, and hopefully getting in the sense of, this radical collaboration that Wendy just proposed. I think it's time that we all look at that radical collaboration, and everyone needs to be in this together. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. I'm scribbling today. There's just, 3 or 4, 10 or 20 or more books. Just from so much learning today. I mean, I don't know if maybe this is just a me suggestion, but I just feel like, my brain is full. I hope many of you will feel the same, but my brain is full, and I'm quite excited about tomorrow as well. I've got to make some space for all of the work tomorrow. I think there's a question, Madhavan.
Hi, so it was a good session today. I was just wondering, are we, collaborating with the UNESCO's Internet for Trust thingy as well? Thank you.
I think it's that question for Radhika.
Is it the first speaker, Dr. Hillage? Is that the one that you're referring to, Madhavan?
This is a general question actually to all the moderators actually. Thank you.
If you can share the link of your the name you mentioned about the UN Trust, I think it will be helpful for all of us to see it and then maybe reflect on it hopefully tomorrow, so that we can see how we can participate.
Sure thing, will do. Thank you.
Yes, Madam.
Well, if everyone wants to look in the chat, Wendy's included the link to her book, Handbook on Sustainability. Thank you very much for taking us through that today.
Thank you.
And if there are no other questions, right above that, Sonia has included the schedule for tomorrow, and you're more than welcome to give us your feedback in the second link. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Radhika to close us out.
Thank you, Derek. I think you said it all. We are ready to close the session. Lots of thinking to do. It's just been a fascinating day one. I think tomorrow will be super as well. We'll start with the UN UNESCO overview and then going over to our topical issues along with networking. I think tomorrow we'll have more time to network. So feel free to again share ideas, see how we can regionally collaborate. I think that will be wonderful because we will not get another opportunity to have this regional discussions. I feel that we can make those connections and see how we can regionally collaborate as well. But fantastic day one and fantastic wrap up by Derek and Wendy. Thank you for doing for wrapping this up and so beautifully. I think lots of things to think about as we go ahead for next for tomorrow. But look forward to having all of you tomorrow and having more deliberations and discussions and bringing up the 3 ideas that Wendy put forward to see how we can deliberately include that in our agenda and see what we can do with the three ideas she mentioned. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good evening. And thanks for all the international participants who have been joining from all over at all different times. Thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye, Deepa.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.